You know the sound of that, my fellow YouTubers. NFL is finally back. Holy cow, what a long off season it has been, with the season now getting underway tomorrow night between the defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the up and coming Detroit Lions. When it comes to my predictions, I'm going to make one video for all my previews and one video for all my reviews. So I'll be doing my previews on Wednesday nights, and I'll be doing my reviews on Tuesday nights. So in 6 days from now, I'll have my week one review. And as I go through all of my predictions, I'm just going to make a jot down all my picks. And at the end of this week, I'll see if I'm above 500, below 500, and yeah, we'll kind of just winging it and see how I do. So in the forced win column on the right hand side, I have pretty much made all my picks, and I'm just going to explain why I believe said teams should win. So obviously, when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, they're so dominant with Patrick Mahomes. It's kind of hard to bet against them. I don't think it's going to be a blowout game, especially with the Detroit Lions. They are a good team, and they should be a contender, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. But who knows by the end of the season? And the only reason I believe it's going to be a close game and a competitive game is because you have Jared Goff, who was a quarterback for the Lions, but back in the 2018-19 season, when he was a member of the Los Angeles Rams, they ended up defeating the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it was like 54-51. It was a blowout game and an offensive explosion, to say the least. So, yeah, I'll give the edge to the Kansas City Chiefs in this one, and they should defend. They should start the season off 1-0. The Carolina Panthers are heading into the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this for me was a bit of a coin flip. I honestly don't favor one team over the other. I mean, the Panthers could absolutely look fantastic and go into Atlanta and get the victory, but I'm just going to give the edge to the Falcons in this one. Again, there's no rhyme or reason behind it. I just, when I look at on paper, neither team really stands out to me that they're really going to dominate over the other team. But I think it's going to be a close game. But I'm just going to give the edge to the Atlanta Falcons. The Houston Texans are heading into Baltimore to take on the Ravens. Pretty self-explanatory. A team going through a rebuild, versus a team that should be a contender and very competitive this season. So therefore, I gave the edge to Lamar Jackson and friends. The Cincinnati Bengals are taking on their NFC North rival in the Cleveland Browns. I did pick the Cincinnati Bengals to win. I don't think it's going to be a complete blowout as in years past. I think Cleveland should be a fairly decent team, but again, I think they're still going to be third or fourth in that division. I don't think they're going to blow anyone away. Now that they have Deshaun Watson, they should be more competitive, but it's going to be tough because that AFC North, I apologize, is just extremely stacked with the Bengals and Ravens, respectively. The Jaguars are taking on their NFC. So badly want to say NFC. Their AFC South rivals and the Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, the Jaguars are coming off an incredible run last year when they beat the Titans in the last game of the season to get that AFC South crown. Then they knocked off the Jaguars in a wild card, and then they obviously went into Arrowhead, but weren't able to get the victory against the Chiefs. I think they're going to start the season off 1-0. I believe the Jaguars should be a competitive team this upcoming year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be starting their season for the first time without Tom Brady in 4 years, I think it was. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play this year. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were the past 2 or 3 seasons. I'm not trying to disrespect Baker Mayfield, but I just have a lot more faith in the Minnesota Vikings coming away with a victory, especially when you have Jefferson and Kirk Cousins on your helm as your quarterback and wide receiver tandem. The Tennessee Titans are going to be kicking off their season in the Bayou against the New Orleans Saints. For the Titans, they have a lot to prove. Obviously, they were pretty much leading that division over halfway through, and then they had an absolute terrible collapse at the end of the season. Fell short of making the postseason, let alone claiming a AFC South crown. And they are heading into New Orleans to take on Derek Carr, who was just signed as a free agent after spending so many years with the Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to give the edge to the Saints in this one. I believe that Carr is going to have one of those comeback seasons. I'm not saying he had a terrible season with the Raiders, respectively, but I think he's he has a lot to prove, and he wants to try to prove a lot of doubters wrong. And I believe that he will get that ship turned around on his new team. So therefore, I'm going to pick the Saints to get the victory in week 1. The San Francisco 49ers taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're starting this week 1 off. And so you have one team that's missed the postseason, one team that went to the NFC Championship game, and I'm going to give the team that made the postseason as a favorite to go into the Steel City and get a victory. So I believe Brock Purdy and company should start the season off 1-0. The Arizona Cardinals are taking on the Washington Commanders, and put it bluntly, Cardinals on paper they don't look that good. Even though they have Kyler Murray, obviously with him getting injured last season, that pretty much derailed their season. But even when he was playing, he wasn't playing at the expectation that he should have been. So I'm going to give the edge to the Commanders in this one. I just believe that they have a pretty decent defense. And now that Dan Snyder's out of the picture, maybe they'll have more winning seasons. Kidding, but not kidding at the same time. The Green Bay Packers are taking on the Chicago Bears in the NFC North. It's going to be interesting to see how this matchup is portrayed, because there's no longer Aaron Rodgers. So therefore, he no longer owns the Chicago Bears unless he goes in there as a Jet, or the Jets go and host the Bears. But so for the first time in many, many moons, the Green Bay Packers will be without Aaron Rodgers in their lineup. They have Jordan Love. He's now going to be their face of the franchise, their quarterback going further, and obviously on the Chicago Bears side of things, you obviously have Justin Fields, and he has some, how do you put it? He definitely has things to prove, because he was selected at a pretty decent draft pick. So obviously he has a lot to prove, being their quarterback. I honestly was kind of up in the air about this pick. This is the one that I was just like, I really don't know if I can really pick one over the other. Because again, if you had Rodgers, I'd pick Green Bay all day. Now that he's gone, I just haven't seen enough out of Jordan Love to really be committed to saying, yeah, he for sure will get the victory, and he'll be the new owner of the Bears from the past. So I'm going to give the edge to the Bears in this one. Plus, they got the new Bear logo. There's no longer the orange C. This is one matchup that I'm kind of dreading, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, being a Broncos fan. I want to say they should get the victory, but they have so much to prove. Their offense was not that good. Russell Wilson did not look like himself. He was a shell of himself last year. I mean, and when you're coming off a 5-win season, it's hard to be hopeful and believe you're going to contend for a playoff spot, let alone a division title, when you have the Kansas City Chiefs in your same division. So I'm going to give the edge to the Raiders. If the Broncos should pull it off, that'd be fantastic. But with the Raiders acquiring Jimmy G, and obviously they got Devontae Adams just a season ago, that's a pretty deadly quarterback and wide receiver duo, in my opinion. Again, only time will tell. We'll see what happens. The Miami Dolphins and the Los Angeles Chargers are kicking things off in week 1, and both these teams made the postseason last year, but unfortunately they were both one and done in the wild card. The Dolphins obviously lost to the Bills, and the Chargers chargered it against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I believe both these teams should be competitive this year. I believe they both should be in contention, if not both make the playoffs. I'm going to give the edge to the Chargers in this one. I just think home field could play a major factor in a lot of these matchups. The Philadelphia Eagles are heading into Foxborough to kick things off in week 1 of their season. You have Jalen Hurts taking on Mac Jones, and for the Philadelphia Eagles, they again should be in contention to make the playoffs, let alone maybe even go on a Super Bowl run again. For the New England Patriots, I hate to say that they're going to be the bottom feeders of that division, but when you have the teams such as the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Jets respectively, I would not be shocked if at the end of the season the Patriots finish last in that AFC East division. So therefore, I should give the edge to the Philadelphia Eagles in this matchup. The Los Angeles Rams are taking on the Seattle Seahawks in their first game of the season. For the Rams, can they get a bounce back season from Matt Stafford? Can he stay healthy? Is Cooper Kupp going to be coming back? There's so many questions with this team going forward. And for the Seattle Seahawks, can they be as good, if not better, as they were last year when they proved a lot of people wrong and were able to get into the postseason for the first time since they got rid of Russell Wilson? So it just goes to show that you don't necessarily have to have a top tier quarterback in this league to get over the hump, because they had Geno Smith, and for many, many years he's been a backup, but now that he's gotten that starter role, he's proven that he still is fairly elite and good enough to get the victory for said team. So I'm going to give the edge to the Seattle Seahawks in this matchup. The Dallas Cowboys are taking on the New York Giants on Sunday night. It's going to be, hopefully it's a decent matchup. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I know in years past, the Cowboys have had the New York Giants numbers, and I do apologize for the fuzziness of the camera, but I'm almost on my pick, so I'm not going to restart my take. I'm going to give the edge to the Cowboys in this one. I just think they're a really good team, and I'm not trying to disrespect the Giants. They did have a pretty magical run last year when they got to the divisional round, but that's where their season ended. I just believe that the Cowboys are more consistent when it comes to winning, I guess, against their division rivals. And last but not least, probably one of the most intriguing, if not the most intriguing matchup of week one, has the Buffalo Bills taking on the New York Jets. And I really wish my camera wasn't starting to get all fuzzy now, but I'm already at the last of the picks, so please just bear with me. So two AFC East rivals will be kicking things off on Monday nights. The Buffalo Bills are taking on the Jets. Like I said, it's going to be Josh Allen against Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to be in a green and white uniform, but it's not going to be with the Green Bay Packers. It's not going to be a member of the New York Jets. And as you just saw, I am going to force an away win. I believe the Bills are just that much better of a team. There's a reason that they've won 3 straight AFC East crowns, and it's not by fluke. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. Again, just like a lot of games, I believe they're going to be very competitive. I just think that there's something about this Bills team. They have a lot. Again, it's not so much about proving people wrong. It's just a matter about being consistent and getting off to a good start. Because if you get off to a slow start or a bad start, that could really derail your season. I just believe the Bills are that team this year that should be pretty competitive and go on a decent run when it gets into the postseason. So that's my pick for week one. And like I said, I'll be making my reviews on Tuesday after all the games are said and done. If you managed to make your way through this entire 13-minute video, thank you very much. And until next time, take care.